Welcome to Talking with Sapna. Today we're going to be talking well-being for your children. Well-being is an interesting topic because sometimes we don't really know what it is that we mean when we talk about having well-being. So today I'm going to focus on the 5 different aspects of well-being: social, emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual. And so what we're going to discuss today really supports all those 5 dimensions of well-being. When you focus on well-being for your children, what you're doing is giving them a really solid foundation to work on. Something that's going to help them reach a level of balance, and then when things are bad, they know how to get back onto that foundation, and when things are good, they know how to use that foundation to their benefit. But today I'm really going to hone in on what is one thing you can do each day during a week to focus on well-being. The first one we're going to focus on is Mindfulness Mondays. It's about setting aside 1 minute a day to just focus on breathing. So you might choose to do this with your children at the start of the day, while they're eating breakfast, just supporting them to take deep breaths in and out for 60 seconds, and then reflecting on how they felt. This encourages them to use this technique throughout the day and throughout the week when they need it. So that constant reminder that when you need, close your eyes, take a deep breath, and spend that 60 seconds just focusing on your breathing in and out. So that's Mindfulness Mondays. But what about Tune In Tuesdays? So Tune In Tuesdays is all about looking back at how the last few days has been, looking back at how your day has been, and reflecting on something that they are grateful for. So getting your children to really start tuning in to gratitude, what that looks like and what that means. But what it also does is help them focus on the small things as well as the big things. So Tune In Tuesdays is very much about gratitude, appreciating what you have, and just taking time to take stock of what is going well, which is something that is really important for children because it also helps them to live in the moment. We move on to What Went Well Wednesdays, and Wednesdays is a day that as adults you often call the hump day, the day you know you need to get through. But what we want to focus on when it comes to well-being is that we want Wednesdays to be What Went Well Wednesdays. And so What Went Well Wednesdays is a lot about teaching your children to identify 3 things that went well and how that made them feel. It helps to focus on it on one day of the week and just keep reflecting. What are the 3 things that went well this past week or for the day? And what it does is it really gets us shifting our focus onto the things that are going well, rather than what often happens with adults and with children where they focus on what hasn't gone well. So What Went Well Wednesdays is very much about tuning in to focus on and appreciate and have the gratitude for those things that do go well. And we know that gratitude helps to shift our mindset, but also works with the neurons in our brain, which gives us different ways of thinking and approaching problems and solutions as well. As we move on from gratitude, we move on to Thoughtful Thursdays. And Thoughtful Thursdays is about doing one act of kindness for someone else. It's about teaching your children that when we do for others, it also helps us feel good. And there's this 2-way relationship where we help the other person feel good, but we feel the benefits of that. And it's also showing children that happiness comes from giving to others, not just taking from others. And about that balance between give and take. And so Thoughtful Thursdays is very much about them initiating an act of kindness, be it to you as their parents or their friends or their siblings, but really starting to encourage that giving back mentality in them. Feelings Friday is about acknowledging how you're feeling, articulating it, talking about it, and getting your children to really share what feelings have been there and have been strong for them during the week. But not only is it about acknowledging the good and the bad feelings and emotions that have come up, but it's also identifying what makes you feel better or feel good when you've had a day that hasn't gone so well. And it's about building up those strategies and those techniques for them to use when things aren't going so well. And so for your children, it's about focusing on what fills their bucket, what makes them feel good, what strategies they can engage in that help them to step out of an emotion and start to feel that happiness and feel that sort of balance and equilibrium come back for them. And then as we move from feelings, we go into Strength Saturdays. And Strength Saturdays is one of my favorites because it's about focusing on the strengths that your children show and that even you show, and having that conversation as a family around the importance of utilizing your strengths. But more than just utilizing your strengths, Strength Saturdays is about getting your children to reflect on the strengths that they've used for the week and thinking about the impact that it's had on them. And then on top of that, it's also about setting a goal around what's another strength that they want to focus on for the week coming up. Or what are some activities or challenges they might face during the week that they know they're going to need to draw on a certain strength with. So Strength Saturdays is definitely something, like all of the different days, that becomes a really family-based activity. That it's a really good place for everybody to reflect on the strengths they've used for the week, how it made them feel, and then a strength they really want to focus on moving forward. And it's a really good habit to get into, but also a really good way to build the vocabulary and cultivate an understanding around strengths and the importance they play in our everyday lives. And then we move on to Self-Care Sundays. Now for me, Self-Care Sundays is very much for you as the parent to stop and think about, because you need to take the time out to also think about your self-care and what you need to fill that bucket so you can give more from it. But it's important to teach your children that they also need to take time out for self-care. So it becomes about something you share with them, but you also need to model for them. To say that on Sunday, everybody's engaging in one practice of self-care. So what is that practice for self-care that is going to fill your bucket and rejuvenate and re-energize you? So know what it is for you as the parent and help your children articulate what it is for them. That time out, it might be quietly reading a book in a corner without talking to anyone. It might be having a tub bath. It might be just sitting outside on the deck. Whatever it is, it's about taking that half an hour or an hour out of everybody's days to focus on something that's just for them, that helps everybody feel rejuvenated at the end of it. It gives you that time out to just take a breather, for your children to also recalibrate so they're ready for whatever the following week brings. And it's really important to have that on a Sunday, that time to sort of fill that bucket back up, but also have the time to breathe through whatever needed to be let go from the week prior, to get ready to take on the week ahead. Because you know as adults that if you don't have that rest time on a Sunday, you often go into the following week feeling like you're chasing your tail for the rest of the week. Each of these days has a different focus, but something that comes back to your well-being, to your children's well-being, to helping them feel happy, and so they can go ahead and be their best selves every day. And so to recap, we have Mindful Mondays, Tune In Tuesdays, What Went Well Wednesdays, Thoughtful Thursdays, Feeling Fridays, Strength Saturdays, and Self-Care Sundays. Each one of them plays a really important role in helping to focus and cultivate on a different strategy that works for overall well-being. So I recommend that you take some time out, think about what these days will look like for you, and start having these conversations, whether at the dinner table or the breakfast table, to start cultivating these attitudes for you and your children, so it becomes part of your daily ritual rather than an add-on. Now, the beauty of my wellbeing week is that I will be putting it up on my Instagram page and my Facebook page. If you haven't already, follow me on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter, and what you'll see is some reminders coming up at you about each of the different days and what you can do with your children and for yourself to cultivate well-being, but also to make it the focus and bring it to the forefront of your minds. So if you want to feel good and you want your children to be their best, then it's about putting focused attention and effort on cultivating all the different aspects that make up overall well-being.